Hoop Dreams, the podcast, an Unlearning Network production.
Hey, Scoop, we got this thing, man, called Halftime that we want to do with you, man. AJ and I gonna hit you with some quick hitters, and my first one for you is, man, you got one of the coldest nicknames in the game. How you get the nickname Scoop?
Okay, and it's funny we're talking on this day because that's literally when I got the name. Like my birthday's tomorrow, right? And I was born the day after JFK was assassinated. I told you earlier my father was a newspaper reporter, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
My mother's brother, my uncle, was joking with my father in the in the hospital where my mom was in labor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my uncle literally said, "Nigga, the news of you having a son is gonna be bigger than Kennedy getting shot." That was the joke he told.
What?
He said, "What? You having a son? That news gonna scoop Kennedy." That's it. They applied it right there.
That's gonna be just like that.
That's it, right there. So it's Robert Scoop Arthur Jackson III because I gave my grandfather's name, but Scoop is official. And as I was a kid, you know they like to cheating up names, so they changed it from Scoop to Scoopy. They put a Y on there.
Oh.
Really, cats that really know me from like way back, way back. They still call me Scoopy. My wife still calls me Scoopy. We came up together, so she's known me since I was in first grade.
Wow.
He calls me Scoopy. And cats like people back in the day, like when we started, before we even got married, and we're together, people would call the crib, be like, "Yo, do you speak to Scoopy?" She's like, "Yeah. Whoever this is, this nigga known you a long time here."
So let me get this straight. You saying Scoop is part of your whole name?
Yeah, it's official.
It's on your birth certificate.
They
It's on your birth certificate.
But you gotta understand the family I come from. My father thought his name was Bobby until he was like 40 years old.
What?
At least I think he maybe said 35. He was a grown ass man. He didn't know his name was Robert.
What?
He thought his name was Bobby.
So in essence, you a junior then.
I am a junior.
Yeah. I get it.
You know what? I'm sorry. Wait, no. My father thought his name was Robert. His name is on his birth certificate is Bobby because
it's Bobby.
He's Bobby. He thought his name was Robert, but he always called him Bobby. But he thought his real name was Robert. It's Bobby because his mother, after she had him, they said, "What do you want to name the baby?" And she was still out of it. She said, Name after his daddy. And they called his dad
Bobby.
So that's what the hospital put on his birth certificate was Bobby. And it took my father, he tells the story, he's like, I was like 4 years old till I realized that my name is not Robert. So to your point, I am literally a junior. If it goes by the line, I'm not named after my father because my father's name on his birth certificate is Bobby. So I come from that family.
Wow. Right. Mm-hmm.
I come from that family. But here's the funny thing. After my father told us that story, and he told us that story, we didn't find this out till like maybe 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
He was here. He came to Chicago visiting. We sitting at the table drinking, and he tells us the story. And me, my god brother, my wife, my god brothers, my god sister, his wife, we sitting around and we laughing our ass off. And my father's telling the story, and we were laughing our ass off. So since then, we call my father King Bobby now.
That's right. He's a King Bobby.
Bobby now. King Bobby, what up?
Right. Hey, what's your...
I come from that family, so we do birth certificates and names a little bit different in this family over here.
The different. I get it. We all got them different birth certificates anyway. So, that's another Chicago thing. We ain't gonna talk about that.
Look, I'm gonna make you laugh. Like, my wife and I got 2 kids, and both of our kids are named after us. We named one Robert and the other Tracy.
Tracy.
guess what? We ain't have no more kids. That's it. We ain't have names.
So that's it.
No more Stevie names. Right? We're done.
I love it. I love it. Hey, what's your favorite form of journalism? Writing, radio?
No, writing, and long form writing, unless it's in the hands of a master. You know, but okay. I'm a big believer in long form writing because there's a certain art to that, man. And you know, having done it, knowing the thought process, knowing the ability to take stories and narratives in so many different directions, the challenge it takes as a writer to be able to hold people's interests. Mm-hmm. And also this rare thing you very rarely hear writers talk about, but it's a lot of us live through it, and I know I live through it a lot, is finding that rhythm that everybody goes through when they're reading something, but nobody thinks about, because when you read, you find there's a pattern that keeps you there.
Yep.
Yeah. Anytime you say, all right, you know, what makes you turn the page? It's that rhythm. You know, what makes you continue going on? It's that rhythm. And as a writer, as a creator, finding that rhythm while you're doing it, that is going to make somebody stay there and stay with what you're doing. There's nothing in film, there's nothing in radio, there's, you know, no disrespect to sound as a media platform. But there's something about writing. And also, as far as I'm concerned, you know, nothing against talking. I think talking is fine.
Yeah.
There are some people who are artists at talking and at speaking, but you don't need to be one in order to speak. I think you have to be an artist. And with writing being the second most used form of communication we have as human beings, I think there's something to be said about the art of that doesn't exist in other forms of communication. As I was saying earlier, going back to what Dr. Kidd said, everything, if not most things we do in society, builds off of writing, starts with writing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Most ideas, most design, you know, most concepts, you know, if we're being honest, damn near every religion. Yeah. And if a religion that we have globally, damn near every global religion we have, it may not start with writing, but it's documented through that. It's those words that are documented. And the teachings of all religions come through writing. Yep. So there's something powerful about writing that transcends just, you know, forms of journalism to me. It's more of a sacred art as far as I'm concerned. And that's why I hold it in such high esteem. Okay. Yeah, it's always going to be writing. And I think it's the most challenging too. And I've always been one like, if that's the greatest challenge, then that's what I'm going to take. You know, because no disrespect to other cats that do other forms of media. I know it's difficult to get on TV or whatever, to talk every day, you know, come up with concepts, speak on stuff, this, that, and the other. But, you know, we kind of have to talk. So it's just a matter of what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. You don't have to come with a certain skill set in order to speak. Now, you have to have a certain skill set in order to hold people's attention. Like we're talking right now. Yeah. But trying to do that on a regular basis and craft a story is different.
It's different. Okay.
Yeah. And there's a greater challenge there to me. And I've always leaned towards whatever the greater challenge is. So. Right. Yeah.
So, Scoop, just my quick hitter for you. Now you best known for crossing these three things together: sports, sneakers, and hip hop. You know, you. Is there any other topic that you like writing on that we don't know?
It's music. Music is still, and no disrespect to basketball or sneakers, you know, and even though I consider hip hop, you know, it is music. But hip hop is cultural as well. It's not just, you know, hip hop is not just music. Right. So that's why I specify music and all forms of music, you know, whether it be jazz, whether it be soul, whether it, you know,
R&B.
Yeah, R&B, you know, whether it be hip hop, you know, whether it be house, which is so integral, you know, and to me, one of the most important forms of music we have that goes overlooked, but it still has its tentacles and is the foundation, somewhat even funk music. Yeah. Is, you know, we talking about, and we in Chicago, you know, stepping music, you know, all the music is still probably the most important to me. Okay. You know, as much as I love and have written about basketball, it's always been me. I started off in music, I was able to do things from a music standpoint. Wrote my books on music, wrote my master's, wrote my thesis and journal from Howard University on music. It's always music. And then after that, there's always politics because, like I said, I still got a political science, degree, and I'm still interested in all forms of politics. And I'm still interested in the science of politics. So, when given opportunities, I love to dive into that because I still have that in my blood. And then just us, man. It's I think us as a people. I think the most important thing that I enjoy writing about the most, and I try to always inject it where I feel is necessary, I feel it's missed, is just us as Black folks. And to find a way to normalize us and humanize us and be unapologetic about who we are.
Yeah.
Ever the opportunity comes up to, put ourselves and who we are into a story, even if the story is not necessarily all about it. So those are the things that outside of the three pillars that you mentioned there, my own personal pillars. The gun to the head moment, like you got to choose one that you got to lose everything else. You got to choose one to write about.
Right.
Probably going to be us. I'd rather write about Black life and our Black lives.
Okay.
Being Black is the umbrella.
It's the umbrella, yeah.
It's the arms that wrap all of this around. A Black life wrapped around all that. And there's always that thing in me. Part of my responsibility and purpose is to speak our truths in a way that make us feel that we should never be ashamed or feel like we have to apologize for who we are.
Right.
And that's more important than hip hop. That's more important than sneakers. That's more important than basketball. That's more important than anything else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, that's, if I had to choose one, that's what I, hang my hat and my shoes on.
That's so real there too, man. Man, thank you for that. But you are a sneakerhead. We ain't gonna take that away either, though.
Yeah, I'm definitely OG in the game. No doubt about that.
Well, give me your 5 top kicks, and is there a pair of sneakers you out there you still trying to get?
There's always a pair you're trying to get your hands on. That never stops because they keep creating. Sneaker game is like being in the mafia. You try to step out and they keep, just putting you back in. Why Jordan released the cool gray with the ice, with the ice bottoms? Like, why you do that? I don't need it. I don't even need to see this. Y'all are wrong for that. Why A. Manieri is dropping the Jordan 1s, the way they dropped the Jordan 3s early this year. Like, why y'all doing that? With the snake skin and the old yellow, why you doing that? There's always some shoes that you always are going to want. I can't think of a single shoe that I don't. Yeah, there's too many. I can't think of one historically that I don't have that I chase. But as much as a shoe head I am, I try not to be a chaser like that.
Okay. Well, give us your 5 favorites.
5? Well, I'll give you I can't give you specific iterations because it gets too technical, but I can give you certain silhouettes.
Yeah.
Right.
Jordan 3 is still my top. It's my grail.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Jordan 3 is it. That's just it. After that, there's a tie between 2 and 3, and they can flip between it. It's the original Air Max 1 and the original Jordan 1. The Jordan 1 and Air Max 1 to go hand in hand because it's always interesting that somebody asked a question, and it wasn't this question, which I love this question, but to me, the deeper question is, and somebody asked me this, my nephews and my sons and I were sitting around talking in New York one time, and it wasn't like, what's the greatest shoe ever? What's your favorite shoe ever? It was, if you had one shoe that you could wear for the rest of your life, just one.
Damn.
Right. Which one would that be? Now I was like, damn. I was like, I couldn't choose between the Jordan 1 and the Air Max 1. Because I'm like, I can, but the problem is I can't hoop in an Air Max 1.
Right.
And I ain't hooping like I used to, but I can't run. And there's certain style things, Jordan 1 to get you away with a little styling, but you might want a good running shoe You know, the little, you know, so I'm like, I can't choose between them. But those two silhouettes I can deal with.
Right.
And I'm good without anything else.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of a harder question because that's still not my favorite shoe. That's still not what I feel is the greatest shoe, but that's the one I can live with. Because you can't stick me in a Jordan 3 for the rest of my life. I'm like, nah, I'm be searching for something else.
Right.
You need like a Jordan 1 or Air Max 1, and I can like still do all type of different things with it.
Mm-hmm.
But just that's it. I'm good. Those are 2 and 3, and then I'm trying to think 4 and 5. What are my shoes 4 and 5? Probably the original shell toe Adidas Superstar.
Okay.
It's such a classic. Yeah, it's such a classic shoe.
Yeah.
And we're strictly talking sneakers, right?
Strictly talking sneakers.
Like, I was gonna throw the legendary Timberland Wheat boot up in there, but
strictly talking sweet. Yes, sneakers.
And then after the Adidas, probably the Converse All-Star Pro Leather, the one Dr. J used to wear. He made famous.
Oh, okay. With where they had the leather toe. Where
I mean, all of the shoe with the little
right.
The whole shoe was leather.
The whole shoe was leather, right?
Yeah, the Dr. J's.
Okay.
It's called the
Yeah,
Docs.
the one, the Docs. Yep, the Docs. Yep, the Dr. J, the Converse Dr. J's. Those are my 5. Because I like classic stuff. And the one thing we learned with all the collaborations going on, that you can really give classic sneaks a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
With new designs, new iterations, new styles, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, they gain new life. You can't do that with some of the new stuff.
I got 3 quick hitters. Give us your top 5 rappers of all time. Who's the best Chicago rapper? And give us some of your favorite beat makers.
Top 5 rappers all time. Kendrick Lamar, number 1.
Damn.
Rakim, number 2.
Ooh.
KRS One, number 3.
Damn. Old school. The teacher.
Probably Biggie, number 4.
Oh. Big.
And then I've had a hard time doing this throughout my whole life, and I really can't do it. So I'm
my whole life.
Yeah, no, because I can't split between 5 and 6 because I take their skill sets, and this one of those situations where we say you can't compare eras.
Uh-huh.
And I'm looking at eras and what they did and what they meant to the eras that they were in. They're equal and they're like splitting the atom.
Right.
And that's Jay-Z and LL Cool J.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I go with that. Yeah, you're right.
Basically, Jay-Z, and he meant the same thing, and their spit game was the same. You know, they were just as good. The only thing is that Jay wasn't as good as a battle rapper as LL was because he's too chill, he's too laid back. He doesn't bring that intensity. And L had a way to bring intensity. But L he could put rhymes together, but he couldn't weave stories the way Jay can.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So but if you really look at their careers and look at them from a skill set as far as MCs, they're really right there with one another. So to me, I can't say 1, 5, and 6. They're both there. They're equal. So those are my 5. Top ever Chicago rapper.
Yep.
Yeah, it's an easy answer.
Right.
Because of what he's done, and that's calm. Rashid is, if you look at the body of work and look at how, in the way he held down Chicago, you know what I'm saying? When nobody else was and gave room for everybody else.
Yeah.
From the Vic Mensahs to the Kanyes to the Lupes to all them other cats to find space, coming in this space, how he held it down. And then hearing like what he's still able to do. You listen to his freestyle, he can still spit. Look, what my man did to me to introduce the All-Star game here.
Yeah, it was powerful.
Oh, yeah.
Well, like, you don't like that. And look, I was with dude the day before.
Really?
Like,
damn.
I'm like, how the hell you out kicking it? I'm at the crib memorizing every word like 2 days before they're trying to get this locked down. I'm like, dude, you got a whole nother gift. I don't know anybody in the city who got that body of work and can still do this like LeBron performing 19 years in, he still got that longevity. So he's the top of the food chain as far as Chicago MCs. Beat makers, how many did you want? How many did you ask for?
Just give me about 2 or 3.
Beat makers is easy. Primo is number 1.
Okay.
Yeah, Primo's number 1. I can stop right there. Yeah, Primo's number 1. And I'm a DJ guy.
Okay.
Primo, as far as beats are concerned, but the one thing that Primo has over a lot of these other dudes,
right?
I really go back to listen to what he did with Gangstar, is his scratching becomes the chorus. And his scratching is a whole nother instrument. And he's such a technician. The way he breaks down his scratches to the very lowest syllable.
What?
He's a surgeon with it. So it's not just the beats that he was able to come up with, from doing stuff with KRS-One to doing stuff with MOP, doing stuff with Gangstar, to all the stuff that Primo has done. But it's his technique as far as not just a beat maker, but his DJing and the skill that he brings to the table in that. The tweets that he can scratch and how he, look, I just like Take It Personal, go back and listen to Take It Personal by Gangstar. And on the last chorus, how he just, he takes the first syllable of the word take and uses that as the chorus.
Wow.
And then he pulls back on the personal. And it's like.
He said.
He adds an extra element. And it's phenomenal. So he's at the top. And I don't want to shade on my man, because I think he is a genius.
Yeah, I love Gangstar. Rest in peace, Gangstar, man.
Yeah, ain't no doubt about that. But look, I will say I'm not a fan, but I'm always about giving dudes their respect. Kanye a motherfucker.
Kanye a motherfucker.
If you look at what he's able, you look into the music he's able to do as far as making beats, you can't sleep on or disrespect. I think the conversation about like who's the best in doing this, and I'm including the Timberlands, I'm including the Dr. Dre's, because Dre is on some other shit too. Yeah. I'll be remiss. And probably at the end of the day, I think Dre is probably the greatest producer we're ever going to see in this genre, called hip hop. There's no question about it. But I personally like Primo. You asked from a beat making standpoint. Yeah. But I think having any discussion about beat makers and producers in this genre and not having Kanye in a conversation is disrespectful to the genre. Because of all the cats that we're talking about, I think he probably has the most range. Like, you listen to his songs and listen what he does, there's not a signature Kanye sound. Recently, he's kind of been getting into sounding similar, but if you go back 5 years ago,
oh yeah, it was totally.
It was all over the place. Like, where is this cat coming with this imagination to give these different sounds to?
Yeah, I mean, you even heard it on his joint when he dropped the College Dropout.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Like, you even heard it on there.
Yeah. Go back to College Dropout and listen to the first 7 songs on College Dropout and how none of them sound the same, but every one of them joints are like
radio bangers.
Yes, but they bangers. Just the Jesus Walk beat alone.
He said the Jesus Walk beat alone. You're right.
How hard that beat is. Now you take that and this same cat, listen to how different College Dropout sounds from 808 Heartbreak to Beautiful Fantasy. Like, you cannot sit up here and say that the same dude produced all 3 of those.
All 3 of those.
Now, once again, we giving Primo a lot of love, but you can go through a Gangstar album and know, all right, that's Primo.
Yep. Off the bat.
You can go through all the Justin Timberlake stuff. It's like, even though as much range as Timberland has, that's still Timberland. Like, you can go through Aaliyah stuff. You can go through Missy stuff. You know that Timberland groove. Yep. All right, we got that. We could go through Scott Scorcher's stuff. We could go through all the stuff done by Native Tongue, whether it be Ali Shaheed or Q-Tip or whoever. We can go through Marley Marl, who I think is one of the greatest ones ever. Marley Marl, look, from the symphony to Mama Said Knock You Out with LL. We can go through all that.
I forgot DMX guy name. What's his name? He tough too.
Yeah, he tough too.
The one Alicia Keys' husband.
Yeah, the Swiss Beats. Thank you.
Swiss Beats is whoa.
Oh, we can go into some Ninth Wonder stuff. We can go to some. Speaking of Swiss Beats, we go to Just Blaze. Just Blaze is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But we're talking top. We can have a conversation without Ye in it.
Without Ye in it.
As much as I'm pissed at Ye right now in my life. Like, wait, y'all don't even get it.
He said, y'all. He said, what is I'm pissed?
Y'all read that hat, what did it say?
Make Kanye black again, you stupid.
Pissed as I am in Kanye in my life. I got to give that dude his props. And this to answer your question, it's hard. You can say whoever it is you feel is your top.
Right.
You can't, look, if I put it this way. If Kanye ain't in your top 3 conversation, then something wrong.
Something wrong. Hit him with the last one, Will.
Man, out of all the people you done interviewed, is there anybody you haven't interviewed yet that you want to interview, whether it's sports, hip hop, whatever?
You know who my answer used to be with that question?
Who that?
Was Barack.
Really? I would have thought you have talked to him already, like even privately.
Last time I talked to him, and we know each other.
Yeah.
So the last time I talked to him was in a Starbucks on 55th Street, maybe. And this is during his run for president. I haven't talked to him like face to face in a while. But everybody at Starbucks got mad because we were chopping it up. We hadn't seen each other, in a long time. And I got another, like I told y'all to hold on because you asked a story about my mother. I got another story real quick about that, and it involves Barack. But we spent the whole time, and he spent the whole time just us chopping it up at Starbucks. Everybody's mad at me because I hogged up the whole time for him coming to Starbucks to getting something. I just ain't seen you in a long time. I ain't
right.
Just like other patrons that was in the Starbucks wanted to talk to him and they felt.
Yeah, I understand that because it wasn't like he was doing that on a regular basis.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because at that time he had just gotten Secret Service security because he had just announced it was early in the game.
How you knew they was mad at you, Scoop?
Everybody. Everybody. I'm surprised they let me back up in the Starbucks. I'm like, what? They were mad, dude. But the only reason I say Barack used to be my answer is because I wanted to interview him while he was in office to talk to him about what his next move was going to be after that, because I always felt that what he was going to do once he got out of office was going to be more important than what he did in office. And I've always looked at Barack as not as a politician, as more of an activist, but it's a small activist. Not one of those rah-rah, I'm out here with, picketing and riding. It's just, he's always been about some form of quiet activism. And now that he had a platform, a real true platform to stand on, what was that going to look like once he stepped out of office, coming back into real life with this position behind him? What type of activism was he going to do?
Yeah.
He was a community organizer, so that's fine. But with being a community organizer, now that you have a platform and the community organization is your core, which for him it really is. He's not a politician. But in order to gain power in America, you have to have politics behind you. Yeah. And in order to be the activist that, is able to make real impact.
Yeah, real change.
Not sectionalized impact.
Right.
Real impact. But when you're in politics, especially an elected official on the national stage, you become unsectionalized. And Barack is one of the few individuals we had, because he was elected to the highest national office we have in this country.
Right.
He could take that activism that he came into the game with that got him into politics and use that on a platform that nobody else in this black space has been able to do.
Has been able to do.
That's why I wanted to interview him, to be like, all right, what's your next step going to be once you get out of here? Only reason I won't do it now because we're watching whatever he does. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of answering what the interview would have been. And if I had interviewed him back then while he was in office, what he's doing now may be different than the answer he gives.
Right.
But it still would have been interesting to see where his head was at during that time when he knew, I'm going to be out of here, either the next, whenever he knew he's going to be out. Right. I would have loved to see where his mind was at that time. And that's the one interview I would have loved to have done, is to talk to him, at that time in his life, not about being in that game, but where his mind was going to be next and what he felt the responsibility he had to do, but not he had in his office. Yeah. Because I do believe that, and I love Barack, but I do believe that he didn't prepare himself, and I don't think anybody can, especially being black, because we've never been in the position he was in. And I don't think there's anything he could have done to prepare himself for the responsibility he stepped out of office into. Running the country was probably easier than what he stepped into, and black people all over looking for you as now you don't have the chains on you. Now you really got to save us.
Your story's so amazing, man. I'm just like I'm on this high overload because I want to ask you about your professional career, but truthfully, man, I just want to keep it where it's at, because with journalism and racism and, man, how are you navigating those things?
I would say preparation, but preparation not in the way that, you go through something to make sure you're ready for it. My thing in preparation is that know it exists. And as we've gone through this brief journey of my early life, you see how the people that raised me built me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it was, you deal with it because you know it's coming.
Yeah, you know it's coming.
If you look at our people and what we've overcome, and that's the one thing I have a problem with us, is that we always talk this black shit, but we always tend to forget, while we're talking this black shit, the strength of our history.
Yep.
So if you never lose sight of what we've been through, there's nothing they can do to us compared to what they did to us. Mm-hmm. So how do you do it? It's easy, because you know what we come through. You know not only what we come through, you know what we're built for.
Yeah.
I am no different. And I'm no different because I look at this. I know what runs through me. I know what I've been taught. I know who raised me.
Yeah.
And there's a certain way to go through that. Now, what comes with that, in my mind, Will, to answer your question, is that, and I tell my sons this all the time, the one thing I try to always do is build a professional resume that doesn't have any holes in it. Mm. And the reason I try to do that is because that's what I know in this country from us they're looking for.
They're looking for. Yeah.
They're looking for holes. They're looking for the smallest amount of holes that will be anything to discredit us, to bring us down. Mm-hmm. Just break us down to our last common denominator, to stop things from whatever you want, however you want to say it. They're looking for those holes. And my thing was to make sure from a professional standpoint, and this starts way back in college, I have any holes in my resume. I'm coming through this, and I'm wrong because I proved myself wrong and it didn't work out that way. But to answer your question, I come through this. It took me longer to get out of undergrad than it should have, but there was reasons behind it. We didn't have any money, I had to drop out. I changed majors, so that put me back a year. And then they added another half a semester on because of that bullshit I told you they were going to do. Took me 5.5 to get through 4. But there was extenuating circumstances. It wasn't my triflingness, but the holes, once again, I filled that hole up by, I'm the one, as I told you, that got the money back together to pay for my debt and pay for the next 2 years. Me. So I paid for my last 2 years of school to finish school. My money. Right? I paid for my own grad school. I did. That money came from me. I took a loan out the first year, And between, it wasn't a full loan because it didn't pay the full tuition. And I told you I've always worked.
Right.
Always
so you working 3 jobs.
Right. I've always even doing the school thing, I'm still working, right? So use the loan the first time and pay for that. And as I'm paying, keep in mind, in grad school, there's rent to be paid too.
Yeah.
I'm paying for school and rent. The second year, got lucky because Howard gave me a scholarship. Because I wouldn't be able to do it twice. I had enough money to get me through 1 year and was blessed enough that scholarships that they give to PhD students, they gave to me and my roommate as master's degree students. And that allowed us to finish our second year at Howard. So I got lucky.
Wow.
I had to work for it. So in my mind, I still paid for it. You know what I'm saying? It's still money that came out of right. I still paid. So I paid for my last 2 years of that, paid for my, for grad school. So all this is coming out of my pocket. So I'm self-sustaining my own education financially. Now, keep in mind, like I said, I'm still working all this time. Resume with no holes. And the one thing you all know this too, when you're trying to go out here in this marketplace and try to find either a job or start your career, what is it? The two things that held against you.
Oh, no experience.
Because as I told you, I started working for the city of Chicago in 1980, the summer of 1982. So I have on my resume employment from the city of Chicago from 1982 through 1989. And while that's on my resume, I still got education. Get my bachelor's degree, get my master's degree. No holes in my resume.
Yeah.
And so I got my master's degree, and on that, I actually made the national dean's list in grad school. That means that you are the 0.00001% top students in the country that year.
Yep.
So I got that on my resume. No holes in my resume. So I say that all to say, you ask, how do I navigate? That navigation comes with the arrogance that comes with me. Like, I ain't got no holes in my resume. That's back on that Kanye Chicago shit. Like, y'all niggas tell me shit.
Right.
That's how you're able to walk through all this other shit to go through. Because in your mind, that arrogance that my mother always told me every black man needs to have in this country. Because if you ain't got that, if you're a black man in this country without arrogance, you ain't shit.
Yeah. Damn.
You want to be over arrogant, but we have to, that's a survival mechanism for us.
Okay.
It's part of our strength. We have to have that because the way we get beat down in this country and told we ain't shit. The only way you're going to fight that is having some type of self-arrogance to not even listen to I ain't shit. And my way of not listening to this society and this country reminding me every day that I ain't shit.
Right.
The same country that constitutionally told me I'm only 3/5 of a human being.
Yeah.
Is to not have any fucking holes in my resume.
Like, look at that shit. Look what I did.
I applied that to the professional side of things. So to answer your question, that's how I'm able to flow. That's how I'm able to get through all of it. Because I know where I come from. I know what we've been through. Dude, ain't no holes here. Ain't no holes here because you did everything you could do to the best of your ability. There's not one thing I look back on and say, damn, I could have done that. Because everything came from inside here. Everything. And that stops anybody or anything throwing something on me or throwing something at me that I'm going to let affect me in a way that I think differently about where I am at that point in my life. So that's basically what it is. And I say all that to say that it can be reduced to one word, and I've always used it. It's unapologetic. If you are in a position as a black person to walk through this space unapologetically, then none of that what you asked Williams is gonna bother you.
Absolutely.
But we live in a place that makes us feel that we have to apologize.
Yeah.
And
like
once
why?
you realize you don't have to.
Touch on that a little bit because I wholeheartedly agree with you on that because you see so many cases where even when folks are pulled over, they got to explain why they in a certain location or they at a certain event or that stuff. It bothers me,
I still think we live in a place where we are conditioned to think that white people's water is wetter. And that's really what it boils down to. Everything in this country is built upon their way of life as being what's normal. Everything else from everybody else is abnormal.
It's abnormal.
So once again, it goes back to the sectional line.
Mm-hmm.
If this is done a certain way, okay, well, we're not comfortable adjusting to that as white America. Well, I'm not used to that. Well, I'm not used to that. Well, I'm not used to
Well,
it.
you're like, well, get used to it.
I'll put it this way, and I just got through an interview with the organization in New York.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Let's Do Better. It's a foundational organization, 3 brothers out in New York, and they're telling our story as Black folks unapologetically through product, through hats, gear, hoodies, all this stuff. It's really dope. Anyway, they have a baseball fit cap that they have, and on the side of the cap is the red, green, and black flag, the African-American flag on their cap. So they have a Yankees cap, a Dodgers cap, and a White Sox cap. And all their caps have that flag on the side of it. And we were talking, and I asked them in the interview, I said, how do white people feel wearing that hat? And they were like, interesting you asked, because they like, we got a lot of white friends that feel like they said, we don't feel we can wear this hat because we don't represent, we don't come from that. We don't represent that. It feels uncomfortable. We feel wrong wearing that.
Right.
And his response was exactly what I'm saying. Well, how the fuck do you think we feel wearing that flag, the regular flag on our hat? You all wearing that flag is normal.
It's normal.
Feel a certain way about it, that's normal. Everybody does that. But when it comes to doing something with us, when it's abnormal to you all, it's just abnormal.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Dealing unapologetically is wearing a cap with the red, green, and black flag on it and not feeling you have to apologize or explain or act like it's not normal.
Right. Like y'all don't know this exists.
Well, if you don't know this is fine, but don't make me feel abnormal for it because it's not normal for you.
Right.
But what your normal is should be normal for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, hey, you know what? I can't go to a game and sing the Black National Anthem because I don't know it. But if I go to a game and don't sing the National Anthem, I'm wrong.
You wrong, right.
It shouldn't be that way. Because the Black National Anthem is normal to me.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make me feel like it's abnormal. You should feel abnormal for not having it in your life. And that goes to like walking through life being unapologetic. It goes back to like writing for ESPN or writing for anybody, ESPN and dealing with editors. And like I'll make a music reference, and let's go back to the OJs and Stairway to Heaven. Well, I'll use a musical reference where I mentioned the OJ Stairway to Heaven, and they're like, "Well, our audience is not going to know, who that is. Can you say Led Zeppelin Stairway to Heaven?" No.
No.
That's why. Just because they don't. Why can't they know? What's wrong with them knowing that somebody else?
Right.
Stairway to Heaven, and in our community, much as we love Led Zeppelin and their Stairway to Heaven is great, this is our preference.
Yeah.
Why should I change? Why should my preference dealing with my people and what I come from be abnormal? And I should not feel that way, so no, I'm not gonna change. You know what I'm saying? But that's if that helps answer your question about what I'm talking about. Abnormal. Right.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm talking. We shouldn't have to acquiesce, in Stephen A's words. We shouldn't acquiesce to their side to normalize who we are. We should run from who we are to have to feel normal in the spaces that we can exist in that aren't all Black.
Mm-hmm.
That's where that comes from. You do have to have a certain groundedness in order to be that way, because living in this country is going to condition you to think differently.
Hey, Scoop, it's so funny you said it like that, because that was my way of thinking when I first saw Isaiah Thomas and I first knew he was from Chicago and from the West Side. I said to myself, damn, if he can do it, I can do it. I was like, but the first thing I got to do is, I got to survive the hood.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I got to come out every day and make sure that I get back home safe to even try to attempt what Isaiah did.
Exactly. And the beauty of that is, while you didn't become Isaiah Thomas, you don't get to have your life without thinking that way. You have to think that way early. And here's the other part of that. It's not just you, but it's Isaiah Thomas and you, that if Derrick Rose doesn't see the two of you all, Derrick Rose never gets through the same fight and become who he becomes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's a trickle-down effect, but it's there for us. Yeah. We have in our history right in front of us what we are able to survive, what we're able to put up with, what we're able to fires we're able to fight through. It's right there. So me, I've never, ever, ever, ever lost sight of that. Like, that's some everyday shit with me. That's not like, oh, I feel this way because I'm going through a certain thing and I'm gonna like reattach that. No, I still go through every day like that. It's really, to answer your question, allow me to function in a way that I never feel that I've sacrificed anything from an integrity standpoint.
One of the things, man, I've always appreciated about you was that your integrity, your honesty, but most importantly, man, you always stood on your cause. You never shied away from your cause. And that was, and the principle behind it. You know, even like talking with you today, you know, if anybody hear this interview and they come away with something more than what they think they're hearing, then that's them fishing for something that, because the truth is the truth. You're speaking to the level that really that all of our folks need to hear from that. I like how you even phrase it. What more can you do to me? Yeah. I got examples before me to help me navigate. Well, I've seen you treat my older brother this way. So guess what? I know what to do now, how to handle that situation.
Right.
Now, to me, the unfortunate part, and I think this is what you was getting to, was that we still at that space. That
We all look, man, we're always gonna be in that space, in this space. In this space, we're always gonna be in this space because it's not as much as it is dealing with color, it's dealing with power.
Yes.
You know, now the power is connected to color, but you know, the one thing we have to understand, and we're different people. You know, I think it's not just the color of our skins that make us different. I think who we are as human beings are different. And we as Black people, I do believe, for part of the reason for what we've been through and how we had to stick together, we live with a different sense of generosity when it comes to each other. You know what I'm saying? I think we give differently.
Yeah.
You know, and it partially because we know what it's like to not be given anything, and we understand the power of giving and how giving is necessary. Yeah. And it also goes that, you know, we're not relinquishing power when we give, but we're dealing in a society, and that's why I say color is kind of connected to it. With sharing power comes a relinquishing of power.
Yeah.
And if you ask most other races, would you like to switch places and have that? Most people would say yes, and most people would do the exact same thing. Like if we were in control and in charge the way white people are in this country, would we want to give up power as well? I think because of who we are, we might be more open to doing that. But in order to have that power, we never would have gone through what we went through. And even if there is a land, if there's this seismic shift 4 or 5 generations from now, where there is true equality, or the power shift comes and somebody outside of white males is running things, that same mentality of power, once you get it, is going to be hard to go up against. It's like winning the championship. You don't want to not win another one. Once you get it, you get greedy because that becomes your level of power now. And if I can run this league, I want to run this league. If I can run this organization, I want to run this organization. If I can run this society, I want to run this society. So my thing with us is that we, as Black people, have to understand that even though a lot of things that happen to us directly related to the color of our skin, but more of it has to do with the power that they have that they're not willing to relinquish. That comes with sharing. It just simple comes with sharing. And the first way you do not share with anybody is to make certain people feel less than you are.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's what we're dealing with. So my thing is that knowing what we've been through and how long this fight has been, since 1619, how long this fight has been, at 402 years since we stepped here in Virginia, that the end result that we wish for and hope for and probably too often pray for is not going to come anytime soon. When you hope for something for 400 years, it's not going to come in 10.
Right.
Right.
It's not going to come in 30. Now, you'll see progressions, but the end result that you're looking for is not going to come, but that never stops you from fighting.
Right.
Because if you think it's bad for you now, you have no idea how bad it could be if we didn't put up 400 years of that fight. You have to keep doing that. Yeah. So my thing with us, and we'll say this, I just want to make clear that what we're saying, when I say me, I don't mean me, I mean us. Right. We're speaking about all of us, not just me. This isn't personal. This is when I say me, I'm speaking of, right. So what they have done to me, what they have done to us has been done before, but we have to understand it's always going to be a fight. We cannot look for an end result in this, but we understand at some point at this pace, we still have to put up with that fight because it gets a lot worse once we give up the fight, and we can never give up that fight.
Never.
So as Black people, we have to stop looking for this type of change.
You got some books out there that is just phenomenal books. The Dark Side, really what we've been talking about, chronicling, the Young Black Experience, The Last Black Mecca, True to the Game. I really wanted to ask you from this perspective, how did you think the books you wrote, particularly those 3 books, how would it work in today's time if you have written them now?
That's a good question. Because I put on paper, I thought about doing The Last Black Mecca Part 2. But I have to take a deep dive because the reason I wrote Last Black Mecca first, because at the time, it was 1990. And I really did believe that hip hop had reached a point that from a creative standpoint, as far as our Black diaspora in this country, that was going to be the last art form that we were going to lend to this country that was going to have this type of power. I didn't see, at the time, I'm like, I don't know where else it's going to come from. Because hip hop was so different. It was so new. It came from such an authentic place. And it was so, once again, unapologetic about being something that came from us. I'm like, this is the last Black Mecca. This is the last contribution we're going to make that is going to have this type of impact on this country. Now, I did not see our impact in film coming and shaping itself to the way it is right now. There can be an argument, if I did The Last Black Mecca again, it could be about film. From the role that Oscar Michaud to Julie Dash to, Melvin Peoples to Spike Lee played in shaping what we're looking at now as Black film. So we're looking at the Ava DuVernays. We're looking at the Ryan Coogler's, we're looking at the David Lees. We're looking at, all these young filmmakers and what they're doing, specifically telling Black stories, and not even telling Black stories, just in film. And how powerful that has become from a creative standpoint, where if I did that book right now, it probably would be about film, or, which I think is the next Black Mecca, is fashion. Like the role, and a lot of that, some of it has to do with Virgil and what the role he's played over especially the last 5 years. And Kanye, that's accredited to being at the forefront. But if you look at it from a design standpoint, the role Black design, and Michelle Obama gets a lot of credit for this too. But if you look at the role and the impact Black design has had in fashion over the last 10 years, I could write a book about the exact same thing. Like if I was going to do it now, those books I could write the same things, but about the subject matter would be different. Same title. Like the now Black Mecca and the next Black Mecca, as opposed to the last one. You know what I'm saying? But it would be about film and fashion. Because I did not in 1990 see those avenues being outlets for where we can express ourselves and build empires that we can claim.
it's interesting that you say that though, because particularly in the 90s, you had FUBU and who's the other AG? Carl Kanai.
They were first before FUBU. Yeah, but look at it this way. We're talking about three, and if you really get down to it, I think Willie Ware was around. So Willie Smith was running his thing, but it was on a small level, I think. But you look at what came from that, though. And you really, I'll put it to you this way. Back in the 90s, we probably had 3 to 5 Black-owned fashion properties. GQ just did an article last month that said the 72 Black designers and companies you need to be paying attention to. 72.
Damn.
Right, you know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So that's the one, those are the ones they just say you need to pay attention to.
Right.
So the game has shifted in a way, and it is going from the high end to the low end, to who's running some of these places where you look at a Kirby Jean and his relationship with Gucci and their fashion house, to what Virgil's doing over at Louis Vuitton, to what you get collaboration where you get like Huron Preston doing stuff with Calvin Klein, just all across the board where you're seeing Black impact and implementation in the fashion world from the high to the low of independence. Independent clothes makers that are still making dents in fashion. Hey, look to our boy Fashion Geek. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, this is still it's still some Black shit and the impact that we're having that I didn't see back then, and how much it's grown. From the cross colors to the Carl Kanais, and the FUBUs.
Pelly.
And the Pelly Pellies and the Averexes and all that, all the stuff back then, and the Tony Shelmans who was doing this thing with Mecca back in the day, when they were all, and Get Paid, Paul and Mike, all that stuff from back in the days. Black folks doing their thing from a fast standpoint to where it's going at now. Where it's way beyond just streetwear, where it's way beyond just hood gear, where like we are playing major roles in the direction fashion is going.
Yeah.
That could be a mecca within itself. To answer your question, so if I could write those books now, that book would be different. Same concept, different subject matter though. I take the same energy, the same structure, the way I broke down hip hop and the role that it played in our community, I could apply it right now, but it wouldn't be in hip hop. It would be in two other subject matters. And what's interesting is the last book I wrote, The Game Is Not a Game, was written through the lens of sports. And what I wrote about 3 years ago, once the pandemic hit and the Black Lives Matters hit, all came true. So, in a way, was able to write something that wound up coming true to this day and is in existence right now, just through the sports leaders. But the other books before I even wrote, because that was my first sports book, really. It's outside of the Nike book. But dealing through the other lenses where we're dealing with, like I said, our society as Black things, because those books exist now. As far as I'm concerned, man, as long as there's a Black story to tell, there's a book to be written.
This has been an honor, a treat for both of us. First of all, man, the lessons that you just put out today, I want to get them framed and put them on posters. Just like Scoop. One thing you can tell about Scoop, he's straight up from the 90s too, in terms of that different world impact. Revolutionary, it's just real. That man.
Yeah.
So
you can't fake that
if
shit.
it's one interview that I'm gonna make sure my kids listen to, man, it is this one here. But man, before we get up out of here, Scoop, my dog Arthur AG got one more question for you.
What's the next chapter in Scoop Jackson's hoop dream?
Okay, you know what? I already have the answer.
Let's see.
You know what? I didn't even think about it, and it's sitting right here in front of me because it's about to happen. And I guess it's going to happen because we agreed to happen. We just haven't it isn't official yet.
Yeah.
But it's going to happen, and I'll throw it out there to the universe and I'll share it with you all. It's not a big deal, but it's a big enough deal. But it's an answer to your question. I'm doing George Gervie's biography.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Scoop, Chi-Town legend. Just his next hoop dream chapter.
I'm the gold of my era. I've been a trending topic, I'm as fly as a feather. My pockets macroscopic, see with time I get better. I'm always in the action, kid. Know I got it locked from Chicago where the toughest live. Concrete jungle, earn my stripes on the pavement there. You make it here, then you can make it anywhere. No comparison, your game is embarrassing. No one can touch me, I'm all for going there again. Yeah, I think I'm ballin' like I'm Will Gates. I'm hoop dreaming, trying to fight against a sealed fate. More faith, think I'm ballin' like I'm Martha Agee. I'm box office and one day they gon' have to pay me. Yeah, I think I'm ballin' like I'm Will Gates. I'm hoop dreaming, trying to fight against a sealed fate. More faith, think I'm ballin' like I'm Martha Agee. I'm box office and one day they gon' have to pay me.
Hoop Dreams, the podcast, an Unlearning Network production. Written and produced by Arthur Agee, Will Gates, Matt Hoffer, with audio engineering from Matt Savage. For more episodes, check us out at www.unlearningnetwork.com.
Gotta be a dog to survive in this cold weather. Ice in my veins, no need for a warm sweater. I'm coming for it all, best believe I won't let up, yeah. Hey, I think I'm ballin' like I'm Will Gates. I'm hoop dreaming, trying to fight against a sealed fate. More faith, think I'm ballin' like I'm Martha Agee. I'm box office and one day they gon' have to pay me. Yeah, I think I'm ballin' like I'm Will Gates. I'm hoop dreaming, trying to fight against a sealed fate. More faith, think I'm ballin' like I'm Martha Agee. I'm box office and one day they gon' have to pay me.